This is a Willets Point, Shea Stadium-bound 7 express train. The next and last stop is Willets Point, Shea Stadium.
Oh, yes, it is the Subway to Shea podcast. Anthony Rivera here with you, talking about all the news and happenings surrounding that team from Queens, the New York Mets. Episode 177 from the Subway to Shea studios in my office. And I know you're thinking, this guy just did a podcast yesterday. Why is he here today? Well, thanks to David Stearns at 1:44 in the morning, Jeff Passan with the breaking news that the Mets are re-signing the tribal chief, Sean Manaea. He is back on the Mets, and I thought of what better guest to have on than the guy who really brokered the deal about halfway through the season when he went to go play softball with Sean Manaea in the park. The one, the only Hector from Washington Heights. Blunt Thoughts in the house. What's up, my friend?
How you doing, brother? How you doing? That's hilarious. I wish that was the case. But no, man, happy to be here. Thanks for having me. It's always an honor and a privilege to be on with you. So I appreciate that. And of course, as soon as you hit me up, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Why not talk some Sean Manaea? You know, I'm excited to have him back. Like I think many Mets fans are. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, and it was great to see you out there at the Queens Baseball Convention a couple of weeks ago. A lot of Met fans were very excited and hoping for things to go down. Of course, the Mets signed Juan Soto the day after.
Yes.
So that all happens. And I thought that we would get some type of signing around Christmas, whether it was Pete Alonso or a pitcher. And alas, it is Sean Manaea. And maybe the Mets aren't done. Maybe there's something else they got cooking for us as we hope for another gift underneath the Christmas tree. Shout out to all of you that are in here right now. I know it's early in the day. It's a Monday. Some of you are at work right now. I'm on Christmas vacation, so I decided let's get on here early. There's a whole lot of Mets content creators getting ready to go on today to talk, so make sure you check them out. I think Mets Weekly's on today. Till Mets Do Us Part as well. I'm pretty sure Wardy's going to get on there as well. So we are here. Thank you for tuning into the chat and being a part of it. Let us know what you're thinking about this signing. Got Maureen in the house here, Nino, Lulu, Carlos Ramos, Stanley Babbage, Corey's in the chat. All of you guys that are in here, appreciate you all so very, very much. And thank you for tuning in with me and my guy, Hector. All right, Hector. Jeff Passan reported it last night, as I said, 1:44 in the morning. Mets signing Sean Manaea, 3 years, $75 million deal, which comes out to $25 million as an average annual value. This morning, it came out from Will Salmon of The Athletic that there are deferrals in this deal, everyone's favorite word when it comes to signings these days. $23.24 million over 10 years, starting from 2035 to 2044. So the Mets got a deferred contract in there. Initially, he opted out at the end of the season, was supposed to make about $13.5 million in that initial part of the deal. I got to ask you what your thoughts are on this deal itself, the numbers, the years, because you look at all the pitchers that have signed already. You go Blake Snell, he's 32 years old, signed 5 years, $182 million. You got Yusei Kikuchi, 33 years old, signed 3 years, $63 million. Max Fried had that big deal, 8-year, $218 million. Nathan Eovaldi has the same exact deal as Sean Manaea. And then Luis Severino got the 3 years, $67 million with 2 years of player options. How are you feeling about the numbers and the years that Manaea got? All we heard was, it's going to be 4 years. It's going to be 5 years. He may even get into 6 years. Like the money may get into the hundreds now. And I think the Mets played this right, and they got the guy they wanted for the term that they wanted.
No, absolutely. If I may, before I get on that, and I just want to say hello to everybody. I forgot to actually sign into it, so I can't comment in the chat. I don't want to do it while we're on now because it might kick me out, and I don't want to mess with it. So hello, everybody. I apologize once again. I'm a guest somewhere, and I can't comment on the chat. But hello to all Lulu, Carlos, Jeff, everybody in here. The other thing is, if it's a little bit dark, everybody, I told Amp right before we got on, all of a sudden I got a little bit of a headache. So I'm dealing with that. I'm playing hurt. But anyways, Oh, hello to Lulu. Yes, shout out to Lulu that you put her up there. No man, listen, it's funny, right? The first thing is the Mets have built this habit now of making these moves and announcing these deals coming out late at night, like when we're sleeping or whatever, you know. So I was actually sleeping. I know sometimes I work at night, sometimes I work during the day. Today I'm doing a little bit of combination of both. So I was actually sleeping when this got announced, and wake up this like 4 in the morning. Look on X. I see I got a DM. So I like go to that first and I see a bunch of notifications and somebody saying, "Hey, you got your boy." I'm like, okay. Oh, you got Sean Manaea. I'm like, oh, nice, nice, nice. Now I didn't know all of the terms except for that it was 3 years, 75 million. So initially when I see that, I'm like, okay, that's good because I'll be honest, and I am in the same line of thinking as David Stearns, and I don't want to sign long-term deals for these pitchers. So 3 to 5 years is more to my liking.
Yeah, I remember you saying that on your live streams that you did not like these long-term deals that have been dealt to all these players. I especially, and before I let you get to keep going, I especially don't like long-term deals for pitchers.
Yes.
I want to build from within. And if you could do these short-term deals like David Stearns is doing, like I don't like the Max Fried deal. I think it's too long, especially for a guy that we know that's been injury prone, has not been a postseason performer. You know, Blake Snell's a different situation because he's now put into a type of a 6-man rotation where they can spread out his length a little bit longer. But the deal for Max Fried is something I would not entertain. Not even for a guy like Corbin Burns, who we're going to get into in a little bit. But yeah, go ahead, man.
No, absolutely. So that's what I'm thinking. The money, I don't really care about too much. And we were already expecting that 25 or so because of what we've seen, right, with Kikuchi, with even Severino, Blake Snell, all of those contracts already told you, okay, Sean Manaea is lining up 25. So to the point that everybody's saying, man, it's going to take maybe 5 years, maybe even 6 years if another team is crazy enough to do that. The Mets going to be willing to go there. We may be losing out on Sean Manaea. And again, I'm with the David Stearns line of thinking, but I also was like, every now and then you're going to do uncomfortable deals, right? Even Steve Cohen said the Juan Soto, it's a little bit of an uncomfortable deal. Okay, it happens. You're not going to do it all the time. And it's level of uncomfortable, right? So I thought, yeah, if you could get Sean Manaea 4 or 5 years, it may not be what you want to do because of his age, but go ahead and do it. But when I see 3 years, 75, I'm like, okay, of course, as fans, you know how it is, and we want to see moves, and we forget that this is usually when it happens. A lot of moves are announced right around Christmas, right before, right after, for whatever reason. I guess these guys get emotional around the holidays, things clear up for them, and you get these deals, right? So we're dealing with it and we want moves and we're like, let's go. And I'm making my videos, and a lot of it is, man, you got to create content and engagement or whatever. And not that you make things up, but I say what I feel, whether even if I know, you got to be patient. Let's go. Let's get this deal done. But no, I'm happy with the deal. I think credit to David Stearns once again. His patience pays off. He gets a deal pretty much on his terms, which is the years. Maybe the money, we can argue about the money, but the years, 3 years is perfect for a guy like Sean Manaea. And then what was the breakdown on the deferrals and all that? I mean, it is what it is. Again, the money, it is. I don't really worry about it too much. It's all outrageous as far as I'm concerned. It's money that I'll probably never see. So it's just like monopoly, like people say, it's monopoly money. But I think it's a good deal. It's a good deal for him, and it's a good deal for the Mets. And it's a deal that I thought, I don't know how far you want me to go. You want me, I guess reaction on the terms of the deal. I have no problems with it. On everything else and what he means, if you want me to go into that, or I don't know. I don't want to take up all the airtime, but
yeah, we'll definitely get into what he means to the team shortly. You look at his season in 2024, 12-6, a 3.47 ERA, had 184 strikeouts in 181 and 2/3 innings pitched. He was second on the team in innings, only by an out from Luis Severino, who pitched 182. Postseason was 2-1 with the 4.74 ERA, beat the Phillies in a big game 3 in the NLDS, beat the Dodgers in game 2 of the NLCS, and then he was exhausted by the end of that. I mean, he was reaching lengths that he had not done in a long time, right? He in San Francisco, he was a modified reliever and spot starter. So you look at what he can provide and see if he can go even further next year. What I like about these deals is that he's on a 3-year deal. Clay Holmes is on a 3-year deal. Frankie Montas is on a 2-year deal. So what David Stearns is doing until this, because the Mets don't have many. You could talk about Blade Tidwell. You could talk about Brandon Sproat, Jonah Tong, who's even lower down in the pecking order of prospects. But the Mets are refreshing their starting rotation every couple of years. And it's probably for the best, as we see a lot of these long-term deals just don't end up working out for starting pitchers. Maybe one or two over the last decade have really worked out. Talk about Scherzer in Washington. You talk about Garrett Cole with the Yankees. It's very rare that when it comes to starting pitchers, that these big 7-8 year deals ever really work out. And to be honest, they only pitch every 5th day. And now in this world of baseball, some of them pitch only every 6th day, and it's 5 innings. It's not 6, 7 innings. So the fact that the pitchers are getting this much amount of money is crazy. But for what Sean Manaea did, all took place. And I got this stat from the great Sarah Langs of MLB. From July 30th to September 21st, 11 starts, 2.63 ERA, 155 opposing batting average, and 283 opposing slugging percentage. The new arm slot that he learned from Chris Sale, and I was at that game that Chris Sale pitched at Citi Field, just watching the way he pitches and his kind of sidearmish delivery, and now watching Sean Manaea do that to the same success is so great to see. And you talk about him being on the team and the emotional part. I mean, you got to meet him, you got to talk with him, you met him at the softball field, and you got to play with him a little bit. You met him at Citi Field and got to talk with him. I'm pretty sure you agree with this. He really took being a Met to heart. Not that many players you can say do that. I know you say this on your tweets a lot, and I agree with this. You want players that want to be here. I want players that want to be here. And to me, Sean Manaea, and you can tell even in his tears on the post-game press conference when they got eliminated that he didn't have it in that game. He wanted to be here. He wants to be a New York Met, and that's exactly what he is. He bleeds the orange and blue.
No, absolutely, man. And that's why I felt comfortable that he would be back too, because he always let it be known every time he spoke. He did an interview during the season with Heyman and oh my gosh, what's the other guy? They do a show, they do a podcast.
It's Joe Sherman.
Joe Sherman and John Heyman, yes. It's called The Show, I think. It's called The Podcast. Where he talked about, listen, it's not going to take much for me to come back. You mentioned I was lucky enough to meet him, where I got this ball from him. You know, thanks for playing catch in Central Park. Much love, Sean Manaea, baby. And he was great. And he talked about then how he was loving New York, just the city, the fans, the team, the clubhouse, everything about it. And you know, it was early then, but you could tell it was a guy that would want to come back. And when we got to meet him, when he invited me and a bunch of guys to a game, they had us come before the game. We went down, and you know, when you see the post-game interviews where Carlos Mendoza is, he had us in that room there. We were there with him for like, man, 35, 40 minutes, I think. Pretty long time. And I even asked him, I'm like, yo, Sean, I know you're gonna apt out. Like, nobody's gonna knock you for that, you know, but what's up? You know we want you back. And he's like, yo, yeah, like so no man, he definitely loved it here. And I saw one of the comments here, it's a good day for the fans or something like that. In response to when I said, no, it's a good deal for the fans. In response to when I said it's a good deal for Sean Manaea and the Mets. But it's one of those guys where we've heard, and you mentioned him crying in the post game. We've heard how important he was in the clubhouse. We got to see it a little bit, right? The rally caps all the time, the numbers with the eye black. You know what I'm saying? He was always involved in those kind of things, which, you can say are corny. They don't mean anything, or it's only because they're winning, but it helps. It helps to have those good vibes. And listen, last year it was like one of the best years for me personally as a fan, as far as like I was just so lucky and just chance encounters or whatever you want to call it. So I was lucky enough, some may or may not know, I do Uber, right? I drive the Uber thing. After a game, I turn my Uber on. Who do I pick up? Daniel Nunez. Give this guy a ride home. Am I not going to talk to Daniel Nunez? I don't give a damn if they give me 1 star, but this may be the one and only time. This is the one and only time that I may have an opportunity to speak to you, right? So I'm going to take advantage of it. Even though I had, before that, saw him by the players that had taken a picture with him, which is funny because he actually remembered me from then. And we were talking, and anyways, I bring that up to say that he mentioned to me how important Sean Manaea was in the clubhouse and to the pitchers and his leadership and all of that, and just keeping everything loose, and just the kind of person that he was, he's like, this guy is always like chill, like you were saying. So nah, for sure, man, for sure. I that's what I'm so happy, and we'll probably get into it. You're gonna see people talk about he's not an ace. Is he an ace? Who's the ace? We'll still need another pitcher. I agree with all of that. It's not that Sean Manaea is an ace. It's not that he completes the rotation or anything like that. But I think he's a very good, solid piece to have in his rotation. And also for what we're trying to build, man. When ownership and the front office and Lindor himself and all talking about building this culture, this family atmosphere, and all of this. Well, here you have someone who you could tell has a bond with, up to this offseason, your best player, the player where his family is like the what do you call it? The number one family or whatever of the team, besides the Cohens, obviously, like I said in my video. His Lindor's daughter or daughters are the flower girls at his wedding, all of this stuff. You can't let that go, man. You can't let that go. You have a guy like Frankie Montas, and I'm sorry, and I'll shut up after this, who joins the team and talks about how glowingly Severino, shout out to Severino, and Manaea spoke about, the Mets and what they're doing and all of that stuff. So why not bring that back? Why not bring someone back who your processes showed that your processes work? And yeah, we know he changed his arm slot too, but obviously the work that you guys did with him helped out too. Is that not worth continuing to build on? So I'm just happy all the way around. And
you talk about the family type atmosphere that has been talked about. Even Juan Soto talked about it during his press conference. It's in 2022 when they had that really good season under Buck, even into 2023, it didn't feel like these guys were cohesive together, right? It felt like hired mercenaries when they brought in Scherzer and Bassett. They didn't feel like the team was all together at once, like a family, like this team was in 2024. When you add, Jose Iglesias, Sean Manaea, Severino, even later on in the season, you add Jesse Winker. And then you have, Stanek and Maton, and those guys played together as well. And they became a part of the group. This 2024 team is just so much different. The path was harder, and they drove us nuts to get to that final, that game 6. But, it all felt worth it, and it all felt like that bond between them was stronger than ever. And as much as it stinks to see Luis Severino go, good for him that he got the contract from Oakland, which is the richest contract in Oakland's history. I think, to what you were saying earlier, that bringing Sean Manaea back is really going to benefit Frankie Montas, who's a clubhouse guy himself. He's a big-time clubhouse guy. That's all we heard about him. And the fact that they were teammates together in Oakland, I think that bringing him here to go along with Sean, I think that's going to rub off in the right way. And with the help of the pitching lab, I think Frankie Montas has a bounce back season and gets to how he pitched when he was back in Oakland.
No, for sure. That's a great point. But I something you said that I don't know if I totally agree with. And I think 2022, the team was kind of together. I think Max Scherzer gets a bad rap for how it ended here. And some of the comments, I guess, that he made on his way out, which I didn't really have a problem with. I kind of appreciated his performance on the field. I didn't appreciate at the end. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna lie, I was a Max Scherzer fan. But I thought that Max Scherzer and those guys, they had a little bit of a bond. Now, maybe it wasn't as big off the field and, like in the clubhouse, but I don't think there were issues in the clubhouse. We saw these guys a lot, during the game, the pitchers always getting together, him with Pete or Lindor, him, talking to Buck. Like, we saw a lot of that stuff. I think what happened was in 2023 with Max being hurt, the dynamic of Justin Verlander, and a couple of maybe guys that maybe the performance or whatever we didn't care for as much, but maybe they were good clubhouse guys or whatever. And I think we missed that in 2023. And then obviously the performance on the field wasn't there, and then it all just snowballs. And you have a guy like Max Scherzer who's injured, so maybe his voice isn't as loud. He himself doesn't get as involved or is not spending as much time around the team as he was in 2022. So, I think 2022 wasn't as bad maybe as, and I don't think you were saying it was bad. I just think because I think
maybe it was the more stern professional nature.
Yes, it was
that
different.
Buck Showalter brought into the team, you would think?
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. I think 2022 helped to get to where we are now. It was a little bit different. It was a little bit more professional. But I think Buck helped Francisco Lindor learn a little bit how to deal with New York.
And be a leader. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And be a leader. And then shout out to Carlos Mendoza, who then, gave these guys room to look, okay, professional is great, but also be yourselves. Not that they necessarily weren't being themselves before, but be more of yourselves. And, we know J.D. Martinez came in and had a role in that in the team meeting. And then Iglesias coming up, like you mentioned, and all of that good stuff. But, and I think you would mention something else besides that. But that kind of hit me, so I wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no, but yes. Like I said, we know the role, the influence that Sean Manaea has in the clubhouse. Him and Frankie Montas already played together. We're looking to try to get the best out of Frankie Montas. Listen, maybe he could be. I think he's younger than Severino, right? By a lot, isn't he? Or,
I think he is. I'm gonna have to double check that now.
Yeah,
maybe by a year.
Okay. So maybe not as young as I thought. Because I would say, listen, maybe he could be a younger replacement for Severino, maybe with a little bit more upside.
He's 31.
As good
31, going to be 32 soon.
Okay, as good as Sevy was, how much more upside does Sevy has? And listen, shout out to Sevy, like Carlos said. Shout out to Sevy. He got what he deserved. He earned that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And listen, if Sean Manaea went ahead and went out there and got himself more years, he would have earned it too. But thank you, Sean. I'm pretty sure we'll find out that Manaea got offered more years and maybe even more money.
He did, I think. I think he had a 4-year deal on the table with Oakland before Oakland pivoted to Luis Severino.
That's right. But we know this is a guy that wanted to come back, which I think is important too, to have guys like that come back.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's gonna be great, even for some of those young guys. Even for maybe a Brandon Sproat who comes up. Hopefully that's what we're hoping, right? Somebody
Yeah.
like that comes up this year.
Yeah, because
With
we
other
really
guys.
need to start building from within when it comes to pitching. We both said it earlier. We don't want to spend and give so many
Commit. You
years.
don't want to commit so many
Right,
years.
that's the best way to put it. We don't want to commit so much to starting pitching in the free agent market. That I don't mind doing for position players that they're going to play every day, be an important part. That's why Juan Soto's got his 15-year deal. But when it comes
I'm a
to
little
pitching, you
uncomfortable
want to
with that,
build
but
from within, right? You got Sproat, you got Tidwell, you got Jonah Tong, Christian Scott once he comes back from Tommy John surgery. You got some pitchers in there. You want to continue to grow from within with those, and signing these kind of short-term deals, whether it was Manaea, Montas, you even look at Clay Holmes and what he'll bring to the table. The Griffin Canning deal was only 1 year for about $4 million. That's how you want to situate that. And David Stearns is building this depth within this team. And he has a long line of starting pitchers. And you even throw, I guess you want to throw Tyler McGill in there. Someone mentioned Tyler McGill in the chat as well, that he might have a turnaround. If he could be a little bit consistent, that would be great. Patty and NYC saying we're waiting for that good year from McGill. So we'll see how they bring up some of these pitchers. It was James Turnbull saying, watch Tyler McGill have the best season yet. We'll take it. I'm highly critical of him, but we'll take it.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that he has to be at a starter, right? It's not like
no. He could be a reliever.
James didn't say as a starter, right, James? So that could be as a reliever. Maybe McGill finally turns into that reliever that some of us feel like that he can be, and maybe the Mets go with that. Whatever. Listen, as long as you're wearing a Mets uniform, I think all of us here are going to be rooting for everybody to have a good year. So let's go, McGill.
Yeah.
Even if the faith is not there for some of us with him too much, But even he came through at the end of the year and gave us some solid innings. So can't even knock him too much. And then let's see if he figures it out. The pitching lab is just taking a little bit longer with him. It can't be quick with everybody.
No, it just got started. It really just got started, last season.
Well,
under David Stearns.
they just got it
that
all
has to be
season
given
before,
time.
Right. And they've said themselves, like, I don't think people understand. You need data in order to put the pitch lab to work, right? How do you gain that data? It's by guys going out there and throwing, by going out there and throwing games, pitching. So yeah, you go in the lab and you work on stuff, whatever. But now there needs to be comparison to what you're doing and how we can improve what you're doing, on the field and in games compared to just throwing on the side and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's why in September, the whole rotation had such a good month from Quintana, who probably was the best pitcher on the Mets then. You talk Manaea, who was consistent through July. Tyler McGill had a great September as well. So the list goes on and on. A shout out to everyone in the chat. We got over 200 people in the room right now. I'm trying to post as many of your comments. If I don't mention them, I'm trying to post them as much as I can throughout this episode here. Rosie K saying, I think that the adversity helped the team bond, which we totally agree with. Odd Villain saying, you're valid in New York for life, Sean. Free chopped cheese for life and Timberland endorsements. So, yeah, guys, this is a big move for the Mets to get Sean Manaea into the rotation and to be a part of this. Frankie Almeida saying that I think Frankie Montas will build on now that his good friend Manaea is back and they can help each other out. Totally agree with that. Johnny Boy, good friend to the podcast, saying, let's go, Ant. Now Mets need to sign Pete and bring back Jose Iglesias, another emotional person that was a part of this team and had a big involvement in really bonding this team together. So I would like to see Jose Iglesias come back. I assume that Pete Alonso is the next big deal that's going to take place, and all of his suitors that maybe he thought were out there have pretty much dropped out because there's so many first basemen that are around. I was going to get to this later, but I want to ask you this now, and then we'll get back into, where the Mets go from here. When it comes to Pete Alonso, are you concerned at all that really no one wanted to take him? Was it just because of the money? Is there other things that you think are involved in this? It's a little weird to me that a guy like Pete Alonso, a prolific power hitter, although his averages have been low and he's been swinging at balls in the dugout and all that stuff, that has not changed. But a guy of his standing as a first baseman, probably one of the top 5 available ones, has really not had a market. Like, is that concerning, you think?
I gotta be honest, up until this moment, I hadn't thought about it like that. I had not thought about it like that until you started to ask me, and I'm like, yeah, I guess. I listen. I gotta be honest with you. I was totally wrong about the Peter Alonso market and how it was gonna break down and all of that stuff. Um, I thought Peter Alonso 30 million, no problem. How many years? Okay, we could debate it. 6, 7 years. Let's do it. No big deal. I'm talking about not now and not going into this offseason. I'm talking about going back to the 2024 offseason, whatever.
Well, you
Yeah,
remember Joe
2023.
Sherman did post that in midway through midway through 2023 that the Mets had offered him. This was under Epler. I think it was 7 years, 158 mil. He's not getting that
No,
at all.
absolutely not. But that's what
Not
I'm
now.
saying. Like I was up there like, okay, he's not Aaron Judge, but home run wise he is, whatever. Boom. And then in discussions with people on and on and on, people kept telling me like, no, Hector, look at the first base market. And I wasn't thinking about it like that. I was ignorantly not thinking of it like that. And then when I started looking at first baseman and how they were handled, and you look at the Prince Fielders and how he got his contract and what happened since then, and then Pujols and and I was like, okay, maybe people are right, but still, I said if Pete goes out there and has himself a good walk year, he should still be able to get close to 30 million, 27, 28 million a year, 6 years, you know?
Yeah.
But no, man, and I don't know if it's because I think it's partially because obviously now throughout baseball, everybody has the same information. Everybody's going off of pretty much the same projections and the same numbers and all of that good stuff. So there's no trickery really involved. Um, I think these teams set a value on these players. I think um, I don't know, man. I think I don't know. Worried. I don't know if I'm worried. I want Pete back. Pete is a flawed player. Peter's a flawed player. Listen, if you told me the Mets pulled off a trade for Vladdy Guerrero when we got off this podcast, during this podcast, tomorrow, whatever, am I going to be upset? No. Do I think that's realistic? No. Do I want to sit around and wait to see if maybe we could sign Vlad Guerrero in the offseason? Not necessarily. Do I want to bring in Alex Bregman, which I'm sure we'll get into, and move Mark Vientos to first base and move on from Peter Lazo that way and have like kind of a stopgap that way in hopes of getting valid? No. Do I want to overpay Peter Alonso? No. But I think that Peter Alonso is still a good player. I think Peter Alonso now with a guy like Juan Soto in the lineup would hopefully, I know it's sophomore year. Let's see how Mark Vientos, but with a Mark Vientos, a better Brandon Nimmo now, hopefully figuring out a balance. And there's a lot of ifs, right? But these are our guys. I just think Peter Alonso could be better. But I don't know. I'm at a loss as to why his market is broken down the way that he has. I know people say he's not going to age well, but I mean, listen, what contract ages well? And I know, obviously, he's in his 30s, but this is a guy that plays damn near 162 games every single year. I don't see the signs of breaking down. Now you want to tell me he's slowing down? I don't know. Yeah, his numbers have declined every year. Yeah, I can't dispute that.
Yeah, I wonder if teams were looking back and like, if we give this guy a 6 or 7 year deal like he wants, will we be regretting this like a Chris Davis deal, or, at the end of Ryan Howard's deal? Is it going to be that bad? And I think it has scared away a lot of teams from trying to sign him. It's so crazy that him, as well as a guy like Anthony Santander, we have really heard nothing about this offseason. I have heard nothing about Anthony Santander either. And it's like,
I was thinking about
would
that
the
before
Mets
we
be
got on.
signing him if they don't get Juan Soto? And nothing has been talked about him. So you have to wonder about some of these players. What is the issue? I don't know who's his agent. I don't know if it's Scott Boras or not, but we know Scott Boras likes to drag things along. But Pete did not play this well. I'll tell you that. He did not play this market very well, and now it's dried up. And Carlos makes a good point here. I think Pete is looking at the same numbers as Manaea, 3 years for 75 mil or 4 for 100. He's not getting more than 25 mil. My max for him was 5 years at around 27.5 AAV. I would have not gotten any higher than that.
Well, isn't that what Freeman gets 27, isn't it? Is it Freeman that gets 27 or Olsen or one of those guys?
One of them I think so. I think one of them does. But, now you have to go off of, because he's not a Freeman, and he's closer to probably Olsen, but not really. You look at the guys that signed this year, and Christian Walker, who signed that short-term deal that he did. Obviously, Paul Goldschmidt, I think, signed for $12.5 million for the 1 year that he did. Obviously, Pete's younger, but he's not going to get the years, and he's definitely not going to get 30 AAV at all. I don't think so.
No,
I'd be shocked.
No. Listen, and now I think where we are right now is, obviously, I think the Mets will take him back. I'll take the Mets at their word. I think the Mets will take him back at the right deal. They want, David wants him at his price. I think, they're going to set a value on these players, and they're not going to really go above the value, Juan Soto being the exception, right? I think where we are right now is where Pete has to maybe step in and tell Scott Boras, listen, man, thank you. We tried, but this is where I want to be. And rather than go somewhere else and take a prove-it deal or take a 3-year deal with an opt-out and all of that nonsense, go get me the best deal you can get with the Mets. I'll suck it up. I still want to be there. Listen, I don't know how you feel, man, but I was even thinking maybe we give Pete a 3-year deal with an opt-out after 1 year. Go ahead, try to prove it again, Pete. I don't think he should try that again, because I think he's shown that maybe that kind of pressure is not good for him. I don't want to say he can't handle pressure, because darn it, he hit a pretty damn clutch home run. Is he clutch consistently? No, but that was clutch. I'm sorry, that was clutch. And we got to play a lot of games because of it. But is Pete gonna be able to suck up his pride a little bit? Or I don't know how Pete feels. I'm just saying, and say, you know what, this is where I've always wanted to be. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but hey, what the heck?
I feel like he really doesn't have a choice at this point.
And that's another thing.
He has blown basically all his leverage. Unless there's a team like the Giants or one of these teams that are not good, that are going to, or maybe he goes to Texas now that they sent low packing to another team. Maybe that's a possibility that something like that happens. But I think that he really has blown his leverage. You mentioned Alex Bregman, and Jonathan posted in the comments. He said, re-sign Pete, and if you want to go crazy, sign Bregman, as well as put Vientos at DH. This lineup would be difficult for the opposition to navigate against us, just in his opinion. Rosie K saying that likes the combination of Alonso and Bregman if the Mets can do that. Now, at first, I was like, I don't know. But if the Mets are going to do this 3 or 4 year deal with Pete and can bring Bregman in, you want the best possible lineup to be able to go up against the Dodgers. And I think that quite possibly is it, with putting Vientos at DH. Although I'd like to see Vientos get more time to learn third base. This might be this could be a big steal here for the Mets if they're able to pull something off like this.
No, absolutely. And I'm sorry I went off camera there a little bit. Like full disclosure, blunt thoughts. I feel like crap. I don't know what the hell's going on. I even got a little nauseous there. I thought I was gonna, so I had to get off the camera, but thankfully it didn't happen. Um, I gotta be honest, man. Anytime I hear Vientos to DH, and I'm like, no, I like this kid. I feel like this kid earned a chance to go out there and continue to try to be a good enough third baseman. Now, listen, we've seen guys move from third to first. We see Miguel Cabrera go from third to first. So who the hell does Mark Vientos not to move? Um, when you talk about Alex Bregman, if you want to tell me we're gonna bring Pete back and add Alex Bregman to it and do what you're doing, what you suggested, I don't have a problem with it. When you told me again, like I said before, bringing Alex Bregman to replace Pete and move Vientos, I don't want no part of that. Now I did see someone on X suggest if you do bring both Pete and Bregman in, um, instead of making Vientos the DH, make Pete the DH and put Vientos at first, but on a team where, run by David Stearns, who likes to maximize defense, Peter Alonso might not be the greatest defender, but he's, I would say, above average at first base, and it will be better than the Mark Vientos going over there. Now, I'm not saying that Mark Vientos can eventually become a good first baseman, but no, I mean, listen, if we wrapped off the off season as far as big moves being bringing in Bregman and Peter Alonso, I'm not going to complain. And then we had the dream of Roki Sasaki, I'll be ecstatic. And then choose between Winker and Iglesias, or maybe both. I don't even know if that's even possible at that point. Yeah, no, I have no problems with it. I just don't want Bregman to be like a replacement for Pete. And then we're going to bring in Bregman and a couple of other, nah, bring me Pete back.
Yeah, if you're going to go for it, right, and you're going to get over the luxury tax or the Cohen tax, whatever it's called now, you might as well, right, see if you could make this work and try to bring them both in and have, Vientos BDH. Look, I want to see him play more third base and see what he's got more than I would say Brett Beatty. But just having his bat in the lineup, and if he can avoid this kind of sophomore slump, I think Vientos is going to be a huge part of the lineup. And he's already going to, face dividends because he's going to have Soto probably batting in front of him, and he's going to get to see pitches that, after Soto's taking the walks, I don't know. The lineup just gets longer when you have him in it. So we'll see what happens there and see if the Mets do decide whether they're just going to do Pete Alonso, whether they're just going to do Alex Bregman or bring them both in. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But a lot of good stuff coming from you guys in the chat. Really appreciate you. M Easy saying there will be no room for Winker. I think that's true. If they do decide to go this route, I think there won't be any room for Jesse Winker. But I would like to bring Jose Iglesias back because he fills that infield very nicely. He'll be a nice complementary player, especially when Francisco Lindor needs some time off. Don't know how that back injury is going to affect him moving forward, but the hope is that he is going to be okay and ready to go opening day. You know that Brandon Nimmo is dealing with the foot injury, and the hope is that all these guys are 100% by the time we get to opening day here. Now, where do the Mets go from here as we, kind of wrap up this show? Will Salmon of The Athletic said that the Mets feel good where their rotation stands right now. They're still pursuing Roki Sasaki, and they intend to roll out a 6-man rotation when the schedule starts to pick up. So for me, even with the signing of Sean Manaea, I still felt like they needed to sign another starter. Whether they don't do that and pivot to making the bullpen stronger, I would also be okay with. But I do think it would benefit them if they could get Sasaki on that minor league deal. That would be a steal. If I don't know if they're looking into Corbin Burns at all on a shorter term deal. I said maybe like a 3-year deal and a high AAV, a la what Max Scherzer got and Justin Verlander got, because his market is also hasn't picked up either. With a
Yeah,
guy
which
like
is
Max
strange.
Fried signing for 8 years, you would think that he would get the same amount, and maybe he does. But I would entertain giving him a short-term, high AAV deal and see if that works. Maybe with how you were talking about with Pete Alonso, the opt-out after the first year, maybe something like that will work out for Corbin Burns and trying to lure him in to be a New York Met and help this rotation.
No, absolutely. I think. Listen, I think this is not the first time. I think we've heard David Stern say it earlier this year, maybe even at the winter meetings, where we're comfortable with our rotation where it is right now. We don't feel the need like we need to add, and people were losing their minds off of those comments. So listen, David Stearns tells us a lot, while at the same time telling us nothing. I'll take that for what it is. I could see them going into the season the way that the rotation is right now. While I could see them adding a Sasaki or maybe someone else that may come up that maybe I'm not even thinking of, maybe even a trade. Who the heck knows, Because I think sometimes we forget that too, that there could be trades that could be made out there that we're not even thinking of, and maybe some that we are thinking of, but those things are still possibilities. So, are they done? I don't think they done. I mean, when he says, we feel comfortable with the rotation the way that it is right now, I can understand that. Now, that would mean, like you said, maybe another bullpen arm or two. But we'll see. We'll see. There's still plenty of time. I said it before. It's not that Sean Manaea is an ace or anything like that, but I think a 1-2 of him and hopefully a healthy Kodai Senga, the continued growth of David Peterson, and then we have like 4 or 5 other guys to step up for 2 spots, really, maybe 3 a lot of the time if we go 6-man rotation, which David Stearns has said that we're going to do. Yeah, I can understand why he said that. Is it exciting? Nah. Is it gonna make a lot of people a little antsy? Probably. Maybe even piss some people off. But listen, it's not all about the headlines all the time,
Yeah.
And we'll see. We'll see. There's still that wild card out there that is Roki Sasaki. If we sign Roki Sasaki, oh boy, and this kid turns out to be what people are saying he can be, look
He was
out.
compared to, I hate doing the comps, but he
Yeah.
was compared to his stuff, Jacob deGrom.
Oh, why? I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
Oof.
So if the Mets can find a way, because the money doesn't really matter in this deal, right?
No, but you know what though? You know what also gave me an encouragement? All of the stuff that we heard, and some of it I don't even know if it's been confirmed, whether he shares agents with Senga and Hefner and all of that stuff, but him being intrigued or liking what the Mets have done as far as developing pitchers, that was encouraging. All of that was encouraging. But encouraging to me was we, along with probably 30 or every team in MLB, put in a presentation, right?
Yeah.
To him. Now it's up to him to choose who he's going to meet with. One of the first teams that we heard that he met with, who was it? The New York Mets. Now I know he has gone on, I believe, to meet with the Cubs. I think he's supposed to be with the Yankees sometime this week, maybe next week. I don't know.
He met
what
with the Yankees the same day as he met with us.
Did he meet with the Yankees with the same
Yeah.
day? I thought they said he was going to meet with them later
Well,
on.
John Heyman it was like a secret meeting, apparently.
Huh.
So.
Interesting. Okay. Well, the point is, I don't think everybody's going to get a meet. So that's encouraging to me.
Yeah.
We're in the game. Now let's see, how good our recruiting process is when we just don't have to throw money at you, Because that counts too. That counts too, bro. To me, I don't want to have to get players all the time because we gave them the most money. Obviously, we have the ability to do it, and that's what it takes. That's what it takes. But
we want them to come here.
Yeah, I want a guy to come here. I want a guy like Sean Manaea to leave a year on the table, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Hector, what are you talking about? You said, listen, if he's comfortable with it, who am I to say he's not to be comfortable? You know, he got what he thought he was. He got to go. I'm not saying don't go get yours. Get whatever they give you. But if you're comfortable with 3 years, 75, so am I. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because as much as I want Sean Manaea back and all of that good stuff, I don't want to give Sean Manaea a 5-6 year deal just because I want him back at 27, 28 mil or something like that. It's ridiculous. So
people don't understand how important the other aspect of what Steve Cohen and Alex Cohen are doing to make this feel like a home that players want to come to. They had to get rid of the stench of the past, 50 years of Mets, LOL Mets, and all that stuff. And it feels like that's starting to come to fruition. You can say all you want about Juan Soto signing for the money, but he said all the right things during the press conference about this being a family atmosphere, about taking care of not only the player, but their families as well. And you want this to be a destination, not only because of that, but because the team is going to start winning again. And they did that last season by getting to within 2 games of the World Series. You look at other pitchers as well that are potentially out there. And actually one signed today. Jeff Passan reported that the Boston Red Sox signed Walker Buehler to a $21.5 million deal. So he's off the board. Still available, Nick Pivetta, but I don't think that's a possibility because he's got the qualifying offer. So you have to give up a pick, and I'm not giving up a pick for Nick Pivetta. But you can talk about trades as well. Steven Steele mentions that, will the Mets be looking at Luis Castillo? And that's a guy that I wanted the Mets to get, as well as Jeff Cohen mentioning a guy like Pablo Lopez. We saw Jesus Luzardo get traded yesterday to go to the Phillies. He'll be a part of the Phillies rotation coming from the Marlins, so he stays in division. Any trade partners that you're interested in? You know, some of the names that I thought of, obviously, you talk about Luis Castillo is my number one. Pablo Lopez as well. You got Dylan Cease out there. A lot of people don't like him, but Jordan Montgomery is another guy that's available. So there's a whole bunch of options out there when it comes to starting pitchers via trade. Stearns has really not pulled the trigger on a big type of deal yet, a trade with big prospects. So I'm a little hesitant to see if he does something like that just yet. He may still continue to do this, although he was very interested in getting Garrett Crochet. Just didn't want to give up Sprout and Jet Williams for him. But what do you think about the trades?
Well, you know, Stearns is into control, right? That's why he was interested in Crochet. Control, not too much money. He kind of needs to get out of that a little bit because you got money to play with here. But I get it too. I'm not too upset at that. And as far as, listen, trades, I think sometimes we assume players are available. We want players to be available. We want to force players to be available. Again, if news broke that the Mets traded for Luis Castillo, who would not be happy? You know what I'm saying? Dylan Cease, who would not be happy? So yeah, I would love to see a move like that made. You know how I feel about prospects. I ain't hugging none of them. You know what I'm saying? And you know, if I've seen you a little bit, like Mauricio, you know, Acuna, I'm super intrigued by stuff like that, but still. You talked about it before. You kind of alluded to it a little earlier. The window that this team has, too, you know? This team has a window to win with the guys that we have. Yeah, Juan Soto's 26, but Brandon Nim was in his 30s. Francisco Lindor. You know, Edwin Diaz. Like, all of our main pieces are already up there or have a contract, you know, within 5-6 years. And that's that. And these are good players, and you're building around them. So if you can go out there and get a piece that can help this team win right now, and obviously there's no guarantees, I'm all for it. Castillo, Dylan Cease, I forget who else you mentioned. Listen, I'm even intrigued about a Montgomery. I was a Montgomery guy. I wanted us to sign Montgomery last offseason. And I know he had a bad year, and I think a lot of that had to do with him getting a slow start, not being able to get a spring training with his team and all of that good stuff. So I wouldn't mind a Montgomery trade for the right price, you know.
MEZBX mentioning.
And I was just gonna say I saw MEZ in the chat, and I know MEZ. You talked about Pablo Lopez. I know he's gonna bring up Alcantara, and I definitely would be down with that too.
He's coming back from an injury, correct?
Yes.
So there's a lot of options for the Mets and what they could possibly do, and what can happen when this before this season begins. Whether it's through trade, if they decide that they want to be in on Corbin Burns, but I think that the Mets are going to wait out until I think it is January 15th to find out what Roki Sasaki decides. And if he decides to come with the Mets, I mean, that would be, like I said, it'd be like a steal. I think it would be a total steal for the Mets to get him in. Obviously, they'll make the rotation longer for sure to help out Kodai Senga as well as himself, since that's how they, pitched in Japan as well, to the 6-man rotation. So we'll see. Shout out everyone in the chat. Appreciate you for being here. Tommy Izzo saying, I'm here making sauce and frying up meatballs and listening to fellow fans talk Mets. What a wonderful life we live. Thank you all, LFGM. Tommy Izzo, thanks so much for being a part of the show. Really appreciate you very much. Also want to shout out to my guy G Money Stacks. By the way, just in case I don't see another live stream episode, I want to wish you happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all the podcasters and Met fans out there. G Money Stacks, same to you as well. We'll wrap up the show here. I know that Hector's got to get some rest. He's got to get to work later on today. But always appreciate you for being a part of this.
Over here, and I'm sorry, man.
It's all good, brother.
Everybody in the chat.
You hung on long enough to get us through this hour. Let everyone know what you got working up. If you got any more shows coming up before Christmas or New Year's, what you got coming up, man?
Well, yeah. Two things real quick, because you mentioned something that when you mentioned the date January 15th, shout out to my guy Rob, Talking Mess with Rob, who I had. How the hell did we do it? I think I had him on my show last week. I forget. And he mentioned how the Mets couldn't mess around and wait around for, because you mentioned the January 15th date for Roki Sasaki, how the Mets would wait around for that. And he's at that point last week, he said the Mets can't really wait around because pieces starting to come off the board, right? You're going to miss out on some guys that you may want or that could come instead of Sasaki because you're waiting around for this guy. Well, I think now that they've signed Manaea, gives them a little bit of leeway, right? Wouldn't you agree that they could now wait without having that, urgency of having to sign somebody? Because you did bring a guy like Manaea back.
Well, if they can't sign Roki Sasaki now because they don't have the most money internationally to sign.
No, I know. No, I understand. That's what I'm saying. So what Rob was saying is like you can't wait around because you have to wait till the 15th and not make any moves. And maybe
I think Manaea buys them time now.
Yeah, but now that you got Manaea, I think that buys them time to be able to wait
absolutely
until then for sure. As far as because I do got to get out of here. I'm sweating up a storm. It's unbelievable. I look at it myself. I'm red, guys. You don't even know. But no, like I just said, I've been doing my little weekly thing on Tuesday nights. Obviously, tomorrow being Christmas Eve, not gonna do it tomorrow night. So the plan is to do it tonight, about 8 p.m., maybe 9 p.m. Right now, it's scheduled for 8 p.m. Hopefully, I can survive till then. Hopefully I feel better then, but that's what I got going for right now. Just doing, basically almost what we did here. I told you behind the scenes, I was actually going to ask you to come up with, but I was like, it's the holidays. I don't want to hit Anthony last minute, and Anthony hit me last minute. Hey, you want to come on? And I'm like, yeah. So we'll save you for another time coming on with me. But yeah, I'm going to be on tonight. And I just wanted to talk to the people again. Shout out to everybody. I couldn't get involved in the comments because I didn't sign in. But you guys know I appreciate you guys. Some of you that come on my stuff. And if you don't, come join me, man. Help a brother out. Man, I'm like at 280 plus subscribers, which has been, I think, pretty quick for me. Not bad. I would love to get to 500 by the time this opening day comes around. That's probably asking for a lot. But no, that's what I got tonight. I should be doing my show. And you guys know I'm on the X doing the videos, the reactions every day. Did my Sean Manaea reaction earlier today. I even transferred that over to YouTube. Got a little lazy. Didn't do a separate YouTube video, but just put that one on YouTube too, just for the heck of it. But no, man, and thank you again. But I do got to get out of here before I go all over this place.
All right, bro. All right, brother. You have a good one. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you, and definitely we'll be in touch, especially during this off season and throughout the 2025 season. Appreciate you, Hector.
Absolutely, brother. Like I said, you got to come on my show. It's long overdue. I should have been had you on. But
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas to you and your family. Happy New Year, all that good stuff. If we don't talk, hey, unless we get a Pete Alonso signing, and then everybody's gonna go crazy, and we'll
Yeah.
all be on. And
Yeah, well,
who the-
yeah, we'll all be up on again. Hopefully, it doesn't happen
yeah,
Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I like to
yeah,
enjoy that day
who
at
the
least.
heck knows? But again, man, shout out to the chat. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all the well wishes and all the kind words. Appreciate you. And come hang out tonight if we don't have to cancel. Hopefully not. But
All
I'm
right,
out,
Hector, you
man.
take care, man.
All right, brother.
All right, that's Hector in Washington Heights, aka Blunt Thoughts. Make sure you are following him on X. I think it's at HHEC13. Am I correct? I think I am correct to that. But make sure you're following Hector on X, as well as actually I could check right here. How about we do it? Yes, at HHEC13. Make sure you are following him and follow him on the YouTube. Help him get his subscribers to 300. He is in the twos right now. Help him get up there. Make sure you like and subscribe to this video if you enjoyed it. I'm trying to get to 750 subs. I would really appreciate that. And you can follow me on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. Follow me personally at Rivera86. And like I said, subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, it's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you like to listen instead. Guys, I want to say one thing, last thing. I kind of do hope that there's no more signings. I'd like to just enjoy Christmas and the holiday. But obviously, if the Mets do make a signing, we will be back, right? Just like we're doing today. So I like to leave you with that. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Enjoy. And for the Subway to Shea podcast, this has been Anthony Rivera. And always remember, let's go Mets.